the other day went to El Paso, Texas to try to console the town, but obviously not everybody was happy with his visit, and I wouldn't be either. Earlier this year, in his State of the Union address, 45 described to the nation how the Texas border city of El Paso once had extremely high rates of violent crime and was considered to be one of our nation's most dangerous cities to live in. Then he turned it into the living argument for his unnecessary border wall. With a powerful barrier in place, he went on, El Paso is one of the safest cities in our country. Simply put, walls work and walls save lives. No, they don't. And this West Texas border city, founded 360 years ago as an outpost of the Spanish Empire, those words festered. So did words 45 repeated at a Klan rally he held on the city's outskirts a few weeks later. Murders, 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 he said in reference to immigrants as the crowd chanted, build the unnecessary wall. For many in El Paso, the potentially devastating consequences of the anger over immigration and race became apparent this weekend when 22 people were killed at a Walmart and the white suspect warned of a Hispanic invasion, plunging the city into mourning. So 45 returned, this time to say he wanted to help the city grieve. Latinos across the U.S. are expressing fear and alarm in the aftermath of the El Paso massacre. Read these quotes. It feels like being hunted. It's the death of the American dream. I live in this terror for my grandkids. But really, in recent memory, has a relationship between a squatter and a city have been so fraught. As 45 arrived here on Wednesday to try to meet the victims, protesters gathered at a memorial outside the scene of the carnage, many angry at the squatter's visit. The El Paso Times published a letter to 45 defending the city, which lies just across the border from the Mexican city of Ciudad Juarez, and its deep sense of bicultural identity. Our city and Juarez were always linked. Today we were intertwined more than ever. The evil that visited us targeted people from El Paso and Juarez alike, it said. Our people are scared. One Walmart worker said he hustled shoppers into empty steel shipping containers behind the store to help them survive this attack. And so this predominantly Hispanic city in a state whose leadership is tightly aligned with the administration's anti-immigration agenda, tried this week to chart its own course through America's troubled political waters. El Paso officials pointing out that the 45 campaign still owes the city more than $500,000 for the security costs of a Klan rally he held in February, which he's never going to pay up anyway. He has no intentions of paying that. Veered between rejecting the squatter's politics and welcoming his attempt to recognize the city's grief. This is the office of the mayor of El Paso in an official capacity, welcoming the office of the squatter of the United States, which I consider as my formal duty, said D. Margo, the mayor. Others in the city had no patience for such diplomacy. Absolutely everything that 45 stands for was concentrated and fired at the citizens of El Paso that day at Walmart, said Christopher Bailey, 43, a project coordinator for an El Paso health clinic. Shame should be hung around the neck for every supporter that continues to justify his language and his squadrancy. At the memorial outside the Walmart that was the scene of Saturday's attack and at a poster-making event the night before the protest, many said the squatter should not have come, which I wouldn't even want to see him anyway. I would punch him in the face if I ever saw him. This is the United States, now a 2-month-old baby. Paul Gilbert, Anchondo, orphaned and wounded by the El Paso terror attack. It's his words that created the climate that led that hateful man to come to my community, said Lida Garcia, a lawyer and an organizer for the Women's March of El Paso, who was at the poster event. Also, the victims of the El Paso attack included a couple who had three kids. She said that when 45 painted El Paso as a dangerous city that needed strong barriers between it and Mexico, he was using the city as nothing more than a prop. El Paso was one of the safest American cities of its size long before barriers went up at the border, and violent crime is relatively low. It's factually false, it's just untrue, it's nothing but some mythed up white rage, she said. He needs to apologize and take his words back, which he's not going to do. In an extraordinary series of tweets on the night before the squatter's arrival, Representative Veronica Escobar, a Democrat representing El Paso in Congress, underscored the way in which the city was taking on a leading role, even in a conservative state like Texas. And opposing 45, only about 26% of the voters in El Paso voted for 45 in 2016. The White House invited me to join at 45 during his visit to El Paso. My response was clear. I questioned the phone call with him today in order to share what I have now heard from many constituents, including some who were victims of Saturday's attack. Ms. Escobar revealed that the White House had invited her to join 45 during Wednesday's visit, but she said she requested a phone call with the squatter in an effort to explain that the language he uses to describe Latinos, sometimes equating them with violent criminals, is dehumanizing. I have publicly said he has a responsibility to acknowledge the power of his words, apologize for them, and take them back because they are still hanging over us. Escobar wrote. Problem is that 45 is not going to apologize for anything because he won't, because he does something that he never does. The squatter, she said, was too busy to talk and she declined to join him in his visit. I refused to be an accessory to his visit. El Paso treasures its place as part of a community that straddles two countries. As Reverend C. Many said, comes from its bond with Mexico with a history that is older than that of the United States. He doesn't really know who we are, said Judy Lugo, Judy Lugo is president of this Texas State Employees Union, which represents some 10,000 state workers of 45's visit. He doesn't know our culture, the long history we have. He doesn't understand that. Why would he? Yep. But basically they're saying that it's basically, yeah, never mind.